We finally found out what Cold Harbor is, Marvin. Sort of. We got some good answers to some other lingering questions. And I actually think this episode pretty solidly confirms my big theory from a couple of episodes back that we talked about. We'll talk about all that good stuff as we cover this episode. Season 2, Episode 7 of Severance. Now, I know I say this after every episode, but this is without a doubt the best episode of Severance yet. Just without exaggerating too much, I actually think this might be the greatest directorial debut in modern history. Like, honestly. This was directed by Jessica Lee Gagné, who is the show's cinematographer. And it's her directorial debut. And it's now one of the highest rated TV show episodes ever on IMDb. It's blowing up all over Twitter. People are like freaking out over how good it was.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so, right? No CGI is the big one.
Crazy. And now
And if you watch the episode, you're like, wait, how is that possible? We talked about it before about the different roles in making a movie. And the cinematographer is super, super important. I mean, without the cinematographer, a good cinematographer, yeah, you're not getting they're not really grasping what you're trying to put out there, right?
People tend to assume that the director is the one who like visually paints the picture. And like they do in a way, but most of that lifting is from the cinematographer. But yeah, so what a beautiful episode this was. This episode was a masterpiece, like honestly.
Yeah, beautiful, visually, frightening, and depressing conceptually.
The bulk of this episode is about Mark and Gemma's life together, basically, leading up to her death. And I watched a video, like a post-show video or whatever, where they talk about the stuff. And she was talking about how, the director, she was talking about how, like, it was a tough task to sort of, like, reduce down, like, this lifetime of a relationship down to, like, 20 minutes or so to fit it into the episode.
I bet, yeah.
But I thought they did a fantastic job with it. So this is the aftermath of episode 6's ending, where Mark has that stroke, apparently, and falls to the ground. The episode opens with this flashback that he's reliving his life, like in his memory. And later on, the doctor, what's she called? Journeying or something like that?
Journeying, that's exactly what she said, yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically just
It was very like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind type shit.
Meet me in Montauk, baby.
Yeah, it all comes back.
Yep. It also, oddly enough, the actual like Lumon side of this episode reminded me a lot of like The Omen, like where they're just trying to like bring about like the birth of
Antichrist
or Kier in this case, I would guess, but like it had those vibes to it. We're just like watching the process. But yeah, so the big bulk of this episode is that flashback of Mark reliving his or recounting his life with Gemma and how they met, and they actually meet at a blood drive at the college that he worked at. The college that we've seen in season 1 is where he was meeting, what's his name? And it's all
she worked there too, right?
Yeah,
because she was grading a paper or something.
I don't even know how to begin. I mean, just crazy revelation. They meet. Okay, they meet at this blood drive, and we're seeing their love like start to blossom. And like,
haven't seen Mark look that normal in this show ever.
Bearded Mark, like
he looked like 10 years younger.
Yeah, got that stubble. And it's also the way these scenes were filmed, like the warmth of it, like
the lighting was very warm,
contrasting the fucking coldness and like depressing nature of like The Office that we've seen so much in the show. Little bit of an Easter egg at this blood drive. If you look closely, Lumon's logo is on the machinery.
Lumens everywhere.
Just with this flashback, you know, the next part of it is leading up to them trying to have a child together. She gets pregnant, and it's such a really like you said, depressing before, and it is depressing, but it's also beautiful because these are the things that like make life what life is, right? And as we said last, this is a very human show. It's like it's telling a very human story beneath the surface of the crazy sci-fi cult Kier cloning bullshit, whatever's going on. And they try to have a child. She miscarries, and it's a really sad and depressing scene. And the next step is for them to go to a fertility clinic and attempt to conceive that way. And once again,
it's a Lumon fertility clinic.
It's a Lumon fertility clinic, and that motherfucker doctors there who we meet at some point in the episode, and he's doing some fucked up shit, and it all connects to some bigger grand plan, it seems. And so turns out, real quick, we'll just say the guy in the beginning of 2 episodes ago who was whistling that song with the rolly cart and the dentistry tools, he plays a big part in this episode. He's revealed, and he's a mad scientist doing experiments on Gemma.
Right.
In Lumon.
Which I don't understand still. The point of all these rooms.
I think I do. He seems to be a figure in the background of their lives because he's at the fertility clinic. You caught that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you're assuming this is like years prior to what we've been watching. Right? I don't remember. How long has she been dead? Do we know? Is it 12? Is it 12 years or something?
I don't know if we know.
I can't remember if they said it specifically, but you would guess it's like a pretty decent chunk of time, right? And again, the fertility clinic owned by Lumon, a Lumon employee working at the fertility clinic. And so you start to get this sense that Lumon is not just capitalizing on Mark and Gemma's trauma, but they seem to be facilitating it.
Yeah. I think they spiked whatever Gemma was injecting into her after they tried the IVF and that failed. She was injecting something, probably sponsored by Lumon as well.
I think that's part of the IVF treatments. I don't know the specifics of it, but I think you have to do like weekly or injections. And I know some people who have done IVF, and I know it's like pretty physically taxing on the woman who has to do the treatments and stuff like that. And you see that depicted like very brilliantly throughout this episode because it starts to put a strain on their relationship a little bit. Mark starts to get a little dejected in the relationship, and that's, you know, what happens. Again, I know I have people in my life who have done it, and like that's their experience. Like when you have, it's just tough. It's tough on the relationship, and you just see that play out leading up to her death. You know, he's like kind of out of it in the relationship, and he's not saying I love you, and just little key things that you would notice and pick up on in a relationship. And she goes out somewhere, and she's like, I could stay if you want. He's like, nah, go. And that's the last time he sees her.
The last time. The whole thing with the pregnancy is funny because it's just like Silo, where they're like, hey, yeah, you guys can have a baby. You're cleared to have a baby. Meanwhile, they're plotting against you the entire time to ensure you do not have a baby.
Her initial miscarriage seemed to be natural because we didn't see any hint of it not being. But it might not be.
Pre-clinic. It might not be. It was pre-clinic, though, before she went to the Lumon clinic.
It was pre-clinic, but it could still have been facilitated by Lumon. We don't know.
It could have been.
It seems like that's kind of what they were getting at, of like, they were facilitating this whole thing. Now, I don't know if you remember in season 1, but remember the birthing cabins? Where? Damn,
I do remember that. Yeah, they referenced it in this.
Yeah, they referenced it. And
Devin she was so intent on calling Cobell, and that was pissing me off. I was like, why are you going to call the fucking spawn of Satan?
There was that one scene, though, at the birthing cabins back in season 1 where you see a doctor walking out of the cabin. There's been some people on the internet speculating it's the same doctor.
It probably is.
Yeah. So
this guy's not even a real doctor, probably.
Nah, I don't know what he is. So interesting. Before we move on from the fertility clinic, I saw that it's called the Bootsman Clinic, which is German for boogeyman or demon, which I thought was a cool little. It's probably just like a little Easter egg that they put in, you know, just to be like, this is not what it seems like. It's nefarious.
Terrible.
But the big reveal of this episode is that Gemma is in fact alive, and she's living on the testing floor where they're doing just that. They're testing shit, experimenting on her, and she is isolated and locked in her own little living quarters. And every day she gets a new outfit to put on, and she gets taken into a room that has the name of a location on it. There is Allentown, and there's all these others. Allentown being the one that happened to be the Christmas scene in this episode. We see it's like a Christmas scenario where she's writing letters. But Allentown was also the name of the file that Mark got his award for. If you remember.
The one he cleared, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So every day she gets taken to one of these rooms, and sure as shit, one of the rooms is called Cold Harbor. And she explicitly says, I haven't been to that room yet.
Which is weird.
And Mark is 96% of the way done with it. So I think it's pretty clear that refining unlocks these doors and these rooms.
What the fuck is in that room that Mark is helping to refine? That's the question.
Right. Well, in each of these rooms is something different, seemingly related to a traumatic life event or just some life event. Because specifically Allentown, it's her and this doctor is always playing like a different role. Drummond even says to him, like, you know, when this is over, like you gotta like get rid of her, right? Like you gotta be done with her. So it's bizarre, this doctor for sure. But the Christmas scene I thought was interesting because there's a specific in the flashback of their life together, there was a Christmas moment. Right. So are they recreating moments of her life and keying in on like, they're obviously keying in on emotions because we know the files, the way they do the refinement is by identifying numbers that they find unnerving or whatever. People are saying that like, oh, the refinement is them like trying to target bad emotions, trauma and whatnot, and eliminating them. And people think that the goal of Lumon is to have the chip trigger whenever a bad thing happens, so that way you don't have to experience pain or heartache or any of that stuff. So right now, the chip activates when you cross a barrier, whether it be in the elevator or going through a room or whatever.
Right.
But people seem to think that these tests are to...
It's like recognize the triggers. So
make it,
switch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like switch in real time. So you just live a seamless life and you don't even know when weird shit happens. I don't think that's the case at all, but I see why people think that.
I guess it kind of makes sense, but I don't see... Like, how would that work? Like, you would just forget 5 minutes, and then you like
it would be like you have
come
a
back, and it's like
it would be like you wouldn't even see a lapse of time. You know, they describe
you wouldn't, but you would if you're like in a different space or a different place.
Yeah, for sure, it would be jarring. But I'm pretty sure that's what that politician's wife was doing at the birthing thing. She was severed for the whole pregnancy. Basically, she didn't even experience it, so she just wakes up and has a kid.
Yeah, it's terrible. Her only role in life is to have kids. Like, that's terrible.
So is that the thing that they're doing of just like, they're selling this product to like marketing it as just like, hey, you don't want to experience bad shit?
No more pain, no more depression.
Get our severed chip. I don't think that's the case. So each room, there's something different. We see this Christmas one where she's like writing letters and she's writing with her left hand, which means... And this is an interesting keynote too. I saw back at the fertility clinic when she's filling out the paperwork, she's using her right hand.
I saw that, yeah.
So that suggests that she was writing so many thank you cards with her right hand, she had to switch to her left because she was in pain. Why is she doing this? Who the fuck knows? In one of the rooms, she's in a fucking plane crash, it seems like. That was wild. Or turbulence.
The dentist's office where she had her mouth open the whole time.
She's getting dental work, awful, and her mouth hurts. It's just all these bad, uncomfortable things that you could possibly do. So again,
and just think that that's your entire life as the severed being in that. Also, that seems crazy because we've only ever seen an Outie and Innie, but this is like a severe level of fragmentation. Like, her reintegration, I feel like it would just blow her brain up if that were ever to happen to her. Like,
she has many Innies, that's what
I'm saying. Like, if they tried to reintegrate her, it would just be bad. So PD's map is legit.
Oh yeah, and PD said in season 1, there's another department that we don't know about.
That's exactly
right. You can't leave.
People don't get to leave is an understatement. Like,
that's
completely different than what I was imagining.
It's almost like she's in some sort of limbo, which is interesting because that's what the title suggests. Shakai Bardo, I told you last time, I think I cut it out of our video, but the definition of that is literally like the transition between life and death.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's literally in limbo, but that's like, it's essentially the same thing. She's just existing in this space.
I don't think she ever even got into a car accident.
No.
She just was kidnapped and...
Yeah, 100%. This episode revealed it answered a lot of lingering questions, that being one of them. She's alive and aware and just knows what's going on to her. She's like, yeah, I'm down here being tested on. She says verbatim, when am I going to get to go home? When am I going to get to see Mark? I want to go home. Like, so I don't even think she was kidnapped. I think she was coerced down here somehow.
I had a theory about that where...
Hit me.
it just goes back to the IVF thing. Like, hey, you want to come get these tests, and we'll make sure you'll get a baby out of it. Like, that's what you get. And
if you think about the toll that like, trying to get pregnant takes on a couple, the burden tends to be on the woman more than the guy. One of the signature features of being a woman is childbirth, being able to bear a child. It's like one of the most special attributes to life itself is to be able to like bear a child. So when that is taken away from you, the emotional toll that must take on a woman is probably, it's unfathomable to us. Like you can't, like, I couldn't imagine what that's like. And in a relationship, and we see it briefly when she goes out for the last time, is that she probably feels like she's contributing to the relationship kind of falling apart because it's her fault, so to speak, that they can't have kids or whatever. It's probably such an emotional like war zone in the head of a person who's dealing with that stuff, especially with your husband who's dejected and like, oh yeah, I love you. No, sorry, I love you. Like, go out and have fun. Like, that probably takes a toll. So if somebody came up to you and is like, hey, your life is fucked because you can't have kids, I could give you the opportunity to have a child. Like,
couple months of testing.
Yeah. So I could totally see that.
Sign right here.
But it did not seem like she was there against her will. Like, yes, she's there against her will now, but it doesn't seem
Once
like
she tried to,
it does not
it
seem
seemed like, I agree. Like she was
like she
kind of
wasn't
just
picked up
testing
in a
for
white
a couple
van.
months.
Yeah, I just think this whole, I don't know if she was necessarily taken there unwillingly. I think she was a willing participant in what's ever happening. And as you mentioned, we're at a point now, we're seeing a point where she's like kind of over it and she's sick of it. And this doctor comes into
it's
her
like
room.
the carrot on the string thing. Like,
yeah,
he's just dangling it. Nothing's changing. She's been here for who knows how long. She doesn't even know how long because she's getting switched so much.
Yeah. So there's a couple of weird moments in this episode. We see some crazy shit. This room of the doppelgangers.
I was going to ask you that.
Basically watching the MDR people through their computer screens, watching what they're doing and monitoring the testing. And we get this moment where we see them. They are legitimate doppelgangers like we saw in the woods. They look like them, but not quite.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't the same ones. They were different.
Yeah.
Suggesting there are like many versions of doppelgangers. And Drummond's in there with the doctor, and he's like, oh, didn't she try to break your fingers once before? Suggesting that Gemma has tried to escape at one point. And these people are watching.
I missed that.
Oh, you did? Yeah. He says, didn't she? Because he says, like, I forget. They're talking, and he's like, oh, he's close or whatever, and we just need some more time, some shit like that. And then Drummond says to the doctor, like, didn't she try to break your fingers once before? And so these doppelgangers are watching through cameras in their monitors, through the Innie's monitors, watching what they're doing, and they're monitoring the progress of Cold Harbor or whatever. And it's so bizarre. And I don't know. I just don't know what the fuck is going on. They're watching, I guess, just checking progress. I, at some point, got the thought in my head of like, these doppelgangers are learning and being like created in real time. Like the more files they finish, the more complete the doppelganger gets. It's why they look maybe a little bit incomplete.
Yeah, could be.
So, yeah. Another interesting revelation in this episode was Gemma, during the pregnancy debacle and fertility stuff, she starts receiving books from the fertility clinic to kind of help her psychologically deal with the process of it. It's the same motherfucking cards that Dylan stole from the fucking 1D motherfuckers. So Lumon has for sure been behind this whole thing, like the whole time.
Yeah. I just wonder how far back or how long they've had their eyes on Gemma.
Yes, and why? Why them specifically?
Because now we see it's Gemma and not Mark. Gemma is the key part of the whole focus. I don't think it's Mark. I think it's Gemma.
Well, no, I actually think Mark is just as important as Gemma. Well, why does it matter who does the refining? Dylan was a rock star refiner, remember? Like, why have all the other refiners? And it dawned on me, I was like, it doesn't matter who refines, other than Mark, because they replaced the other refiners in the beginning of the season. They only brought back the original crew because Mark refused to work without them. So Mark is the key. He's the one. So I think you need like a pair of like somebody who's dealing with this like crazy traumatic shit and their second, I guess, like, or their husband or wife or partner or whatever, somebody who shares the same stuff and can, quote, refine like that person. You have to know the person so well in order to like dig through their deepest pains and sorrows and stuff like that, is kind of the way that I took it.
Yeah. I don't even think there's anything special about Mark and Gemma. I would think in other facilities or even in the same, there's other couples that are being experimented on. I think they're experimenting on as many people as possible, because that's usually how you make progress on something. You just
don't forget,
keep experimenting and until you know. And Mark and Gemma may be special in the fact that they've gotten the furthest or something like that, but maybe. I feel like they've tried it probably hundreds of times, and no one's aware of it.
In certain scenes in this episode, when you see Gemma's room from the outside, it's like this long hallway where all the other, like the testing rooms are, but there's one across the hall from her that seemingly another like living space for whoever's down there being tested on.
I wonder who that is. Yeah.
So yes, I think you're probably correct. There's a couple of other very notable reveals and answers, I think. One of which is, you mentioned this earlier, Mark's sister was like demanding to call Cobell, being like, oh, she'll be able to help us. And the doctor's like, do not call her. I will walk out. I will. And she does walk out. She's like, I refuse to do anything if you work with her. And she says, quote, she was raised by them. She's a soldier.
She's a soldier.
So that, which
makes me think that she's got a switch or something where she's like, I don't know, does she become like a stone cold killer when they swap her over? Or
no, I just think
she's just that devout.
I just think she's that devout, and I think that confirms our theory that they are literally like raising people in this cult. Like, and that's going to be, I think, the defining difference between Milchick and Cobell. Cobell's a devout worshiper. Milchick is starting to kind of like break a little bit and not kind of be into it.
He's not. I fully hate Milchick again. Really? I mean, look what he did just in this episode.
I know, but
Miss Casey comes up and he sends her right back down.
But we don't know when this has taken place. We don't. The scenes with Gemma could be before Milchick got his gift from Lumon of like, hey, look, this is like the black version of everything that happened.
Yeah.
So
it could be.
The other thing too that I think was a big confirmation, the doctor, who we've seen throughout this whole episode, Dr. Maurer. So Dr. Maurer says to Gemma, quote, Mark will benefit from the world you are siring. Siring means to become the parent of an animal or father of a child. It's specifically a male-driven word, which confused me. But the concept is there of like, it ties back to father, which is a constant reoccurring theme. Mark will benefit from the world you are siring. And this is why I got the Omen vibe. We already theorized that they're trying to bring about like the rebirth of Kier somehow, the resurrection or the awakening or whatever. That was like a smoking gun in my mind. Whatever they're doing, they think is going to save the world. Remember, remedium hominibus, cure for man. Mark will benefit from the world you're siring. Basically saying to her, like, what we're doing to you is going to bring about like a better world, and Mark is going to benefit from that. So you should be happy to be down here. So I thought that was a really intriguing, to say the least, piece of dialogue from the episode. And then finally, we see her try to escape again, because we heard that she tried in the past. She smacks this guy over the head with a fucking chair and starts running around. But she gets to the elevator and nope. She gets turned back into Miss Casey going up to the severed floor. Miss Casey obviously doesn't know where the fuck she is. She's confused. And like you said, Milchick's there to meet her and be like, hey, can you just kindly turn back around and go back down that elevator?
Yeah.
And there's just truly no escape. Like, how do you even escape this if they have severed fucking things all over the place?
That's the depressing part. There's no escaping someone that has control of your brain.
Unless they remove the chip. Unless there's an insider like Milchick or maybe Helena who do some shit.
I don't know who's going to save Gemma, how they're going to save Gemma. She probably doesn't get saved this season. Since there's a third season confirmed, it's likely.
I think it will end with her getting out in some capacity.
So you think they get her out and then they actually take down Lumen
I don't know if they're going to
like
take
that.
down Lumon. I think there's just probably maybe going to be maybe trying to like figure out how to prove this to the world that like Lumon's doing all this crazy shit. Who knows? And the episode ends with Mark waking up out of this dream. The whole thing was like sort of like a message to me of like, yeah, I mean, it's just like living life. Like even the bad times, like you can't let them burden you. You have to like remember the happy times because your life is like is a accumulation of experiences. Like, yeah, some are better than others, but like that's just life. So that was kind of like the message of his like last line, I thought. So what was your theory that you had mentioned briefly?
It wasn't fleshed out at all. I just said that it seems very similar to Get Out, whereas I feel like
you're like trapped inside yourself in a way.
Yeah, or maybe more so like it's really like that book I was telling you about, The Host.
Mm-hmm.
And their goal, basically that comment that you read earlier, their goal is to be able to just kind of switch you off whenever they want.
Yeah, I mean, think of the power that is.
Just to control. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like if they so obviously you have to look at it through corporate terms because this show is like very much about that. Corporation would be marketing this chip as like, oh, a cure for man, like never feel sorrow ever again. And so people willingly, like sheep, get this procedure done. And now this company has your most precious asset available to them at any time. They could switch you off. We've seen the switching board where like they have like hundreds of different things that they could do. There was one, by the way, called, it was like it basically referenced like a hive mind type of thing. I forgot to take note of it. This was wild.
That's actually insane. Just turn into an army, a Lumen army.
Like they could do whatever they want, essentially.
That's why I think they just killed Petey, essentially, like, because his chip was still in his brain, obviously. So I don't know if they had any type of control over him still, even if he was like in the reintegration process. I don't know what kind of control they still had over him.
I think this episode made my theory of removing emotion like even stronger now.
Yeah.
Because all her experiments, each room represents like a different type of emotion, all negative for sure. I mentioned in the top of the episode that like we finally get revealed what Cold Harbor is. Yeah, it's just another room that has housing some sort of memory or feeling or emotion. We don't know what. It's probably the worst one.
Probably if it's taking this long. And yeah. It was interesting when Gemma was answering the questions to that nurse or whatever. It was kind of like how Miss Casey reads people facts about their Outie and then tells them not to have different reactions.
Dr. Maurer also says to Gemma, "You will see the world again and the world will see you," which I thought was an important piece of dialogue too, coupled with Drummond saying something like, once this is over, you'll have to like let her go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I wonder if Gemma will have to die in order to bring about like Kier's rebirth or whatever.
Right.
I think that's like a key thing that we have to remember. We don't know really if Kier is dead. We don't know if he is like in a coma somewhere or in fucking cryo sleep or something.
True.
We don't even know if he's still alive. He might just still be alive. Like, who knows? We just assume he's like long dead because the old, like, settler era depictions of him in the stories. Right. But we don't know really technically how old he is or if he's around. So I do think that like that's the end goal, either like I said, eternal life or resurrecting him somehow or bringing about his rebirth. I lean more towards rebirth because of the baby Kier in the intro of the show, the intro animation where the baby Kier like crawls by his feet.
Right.
The baby Kier and the fact that they couldn't conceive a child and then went to the fertility clinic. Something about that whole thing seems to connect and make sense that like maybe she's the one to like carry the baby or whatever the case may be. It's very Omen vibes, bro. I've watched so many horror movies in my life. You're not gonna like, you ain't gonna wipe this out of my head. Like this is literally Omen shit that they're doing. I'm telling you. Or like,
I agree.
Or like Rosemary's Baby shit. The Omen just was like they birthed the Antichrist and he's raising them into a position of power. This is more, if anything, like Rosemary's Baby. Like Jem is the one to like carry the baby Kier.
I feel like it's more like, symbolic. I don't think she's gonna be carrying a baby. I think when he says the world will see you, maybe he's saying like her as the finished product is like what what Kier wanted people to be like.
Hands down, best episode of the show yet. Like, cinematography stunning, obviously. Direction stunning. Can't be understated. All right, well, that's it for us, folks, in this week, episode 7 of Severance. Leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And we are covering Severance every week, so if you enjoyed this conversation, consider subscribing and check back with us for episode 8. We appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.